Hey everybody, here for Empire season 2 episode 13. We get to the tribute for Camilla, and Hakeem is saying, the last words, how she was into fashion and how she was going to do Antony and Cleopatra as a line. And he hired Rhonda to take her place as creative director. Cookie is throwing all kinds of shade, calling her a carpet muncher, saying that she a battle axe and she knew fur and, all this other stuff. So after the memorial, Andre apologizes to Rhonda, and he's like, I'm on my meds, they're stronger. And, Rhonda's basically like, okay, I'm glad we're in a good space now. And Andre wanted to talk more about if she wanted to stay in the house or not. And she's like, no, the house was a generous gift, but I think I'm ready to leave. Like, it's just no good memories there. And I'm like, well, yeah, you were pushed down the whole entire flight of stairs and lost your baby. So, next, we go to Lucius. He's sitting in Hakeem's seat, and he basically brags and he's proud that Hakeem got rid of Camilla, and basically calls Hakeem, basically said Hakeem murdered her. And Hakeem was like, I did not murder her. And he's like, regardless as to what you want to think about it, you lighted the fire. You ignited the fire with Camilla killing herself. So Cookie is like, listen, let's stop this dry snitching. The state is calling it a murder-suicide, and that's what it is. Let's leave it where it's at. So Lucius is like, I didn't know you had it in you. I just want to tell him how he earned his seat. So Jamal is like, you always have to find a way to jab at your kids. And Lucius is like, when are y'all gonna stop being kids? I feel like all that money that y'all grew up with stunted your growth. And I'm like, that's the truth. Lucius is always taking jabs at his kids, or he's wanting them to prove themselves to him just so they could get respect and all of that from him. And that's not how you're supposed to do as a parent. You're supposed to be proud of your kids no matter what they do. Not make them do ridiculous, outlandish, stupid stuff just so you can say, oh, my boy, I'm so proud of you. So Cookie's like, listen, who knows what Sunday is? They're all like, it's your birthday. She's like, listen, I just want a peaceful birthday. I want you all there. And can I just have no drama? Can I just have my family together? So we all know the Lions are very dysfunctional. Very, very dysfunctional. So next, Lucius and Cookie, they visit South Philly at the same exact place where Lucius grew up and where he stayed at when he was, after his mom killed herself, after he ran away. So he came back to South Philly just basically to use it as inspiration for his Boom 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 video. So Cookie is like, listen, tell your truth. Don't leave nothing out. This could possibly help somebody else. So she's stressing it to him. Tell your truth. So we move on to Mirage Etoile. They're performing in Boston with Tiana. And Tiana is upset because they're going minutes over her set. So when they came backstage, Becky tells them, you cannot do what you want to do. You have to finish in time. And Laura's like, well, I'm just getting them hyped for her. And she's like, listen, I'm the headliner. You don't go over the headliner. So Tiana's a little bit bitter because of Laura and Hakeem. But she also feels disrespected because Laura and Mirage Etoile are newbies and she's seasoned in the game. So Jamal and Hakeem go to Brownsville. That don't even sound right. They go to Brownsville to try and get Frida on their side. So the driver tells them, listen, tuck your chains because they can see that ice from a mile away. So as soon as they get in a neighborhood, from what the little boy was saying, like the Tilden area. And if you're from New York, you know that Brownsville is Project City. Like there's projects next to the projects, across the street from the projects, diagonal to the projects, adjacent to the projects. Like, so when he said Tilden is the name of one of the projects that's in Brownsville. So there's a little boy there who's like, oh, I could freestyle better than Frida. And he does. He busts out this nice rhyme talking about how he dreams of being big in the future, but he'll just daydream from his classroom till then because he's from Tilden. And I was like, that is nice. Like, he killed it. He was like, Brownsville, never ran, never will. I'm like, all right, honey. So Jamal comes out of nowhere and he's singing The Sun Is Gonna Shine. And then Hakeem raps. And then Frida arrives. And they tell her, listen, we think you should get on the track with us and blah, blah, blah. So Frida's like, so y'all got beef with Lucius and y'all want to steal me away from him? And he's like, listen, it's only a matter of time before he plays you too. And she's like, look, Lucius has been nothing but like a father figure to me. So just because y'all got beef, that has nothing to do with me. She's like, y'all could take a trip back to Soho and just try not to get jacked. I'm like, Frida, if only you knew who your father real killer was, you would think twice about working with Hakeem and Jamal. I'm just saying. So Portia is trying to help Cookie figure out birthday cake decisions, and she's talking about lemon meringue pie, and Cookie is like, when have you ever heard of a birthday pie? And she's like, my grandmother used to make pies or something like that. And Cookie is like, leave your country, your country talk for something else. This is what I want for my birthday. So Cookie is trying to figure out if Lucius is gonna come to the dinner, and Lucius is basically like, I'm not too sure. So they're looking at headshots together of women who could play his mom in the video. So as they're looking, Lucius kind of doesn't want anything to do with it because it is a touchy subject, him and his childhood. So he basically leaves it to Cookie to hire the girl because he's like, my mom was beautiful. I don't want anybody crazy and crazy rugged to play my mom. I want somebody beautiful. So he leaves it to Cookie. Cookie picks the woman. So Jamal is working on his music, and Hakeem is like, listen, the verse is too repetitive. And Jamal is like, I know, I was just hoping that's where Frida's verse would go. So he's like, listen, that ship is sailed. You have to find something else to put in that spot. She doesn't want to do it. So then Becky comes in and is like, listen, you need to get your girls in control. Tiana is pissed off about Laura taking over her time on tour. So Jamal is like, listen, you can't be banging your employees or whatever as a CEO. And he's like, well, what's the point of being a CEO? I'm like, Hakeem is such a thought. Hakeem is a thought. He's like, listen, I'll take care of it. I'll speak to these two and I'll get it right. So Jamal is writing a song, and Cookie comes to tell him like basically how excited she is about her birthday, and she's telling him, I have the cake, I have peonies being flown in, I have 6 dozen shrimp or something like that, champagne. And Portia is like, oh, you said peonies? I thought you meant pennies. She's like, why would I order 6 dozen pennies? She's like, my grandmother used to wrap them. I'm like, Portia is such a hot mess. She's a hot mess assistant, but she does provide entertainment. So Cookie asked Jamal about his grandmother, and he's like, well, Lucius never told us much about her. It was basically a kept secret. He didn't say much. Why are you asking me? And he's like, Cookie's like, well, I figured, you were the first one that knew his real name, so I figured he would have told you something about your grandmother. He's like, well, he never really addressed, what was going on with grandma or anything like that, so I really wouldn't know. So Hakeem is talking to Laura and Tiana. He convinced Laura to only perform an extra song in smaller cities. And he convinced Tiana to let Laura perform those songs in extra cities. So after he finished manipulating them both, he's making out with Laura. Tiana sees it. She looks a little bitter. She looked a little salty. But it's like, you can't be jealous. You and him ain't together no more. Maybe you wish y'all were together. I don't know. Or maybe you just feel like Laura is getting special privileges because she's with Hakeem. But I highly doubt it. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like that's the truth. So, Lucius, they casted the boy and the mom that's going to play Lucius and his mom in the video. So, as Lucius is speaking to him and basically coaching him through the scene, Frida walks in and she's asking questions, and she's like, okay, well, where should I be? So Lucius tells her, listen, we had to cut your verse out of the song. Frida gets upset. So Lucius is like, listen, why don't we just have lunch and discuss it, because there's reasons why it happened. She's not trying to hear it, so she left. So Jamal is recording his song, The Sun Is Always Gonna Shine, and Frida comes in. Jamal is like, listen, even when the devil hurts you, even when the devil no, even when the devil shows you who he is, it still hurts or whatever. And Frida is like, I feel betrayed. You know, when my dad died, I felt like I didn't have anybody. So Lucius became a father figure to me, and it just hurts that he would do this. So they bond, and she jumped on the verse of his song, and it actually came out nice. It was a nice little, record. A nice little record they made together. It sounded nice together. And I'm like, good. Well, Frida got on that verse, even though she was cut out of boom, 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 boom. So when not Lucius, Cookie is trying to direct on set, and Lucius sees the set, and he basically like gets anxiety, it seems like, and he's like, something's not right about this scene. He's seen the girl who's playing his mother in the video, and she did kind of look like Kelly Rowland, who plays his mother. She looked like him. She looks like her a little something. And I guess that took Lucius back a little bit. So Cookie is pulling him to the side and having a discussion with him. So we go to Laura's parents meeting Hakeem, and they're so proud of Laura. And Hakeem is like, well, Laura's a star. She's going to be a star, and it's great, And Laura is like, I think Laura's mom was saying something to the effect of Laura's dad used to be a musician, so that's where Laura gets it from. And he's like, oh really, Mr. Calleros, you used to sing? He was like, I wasn't as good as Laura, I didn't blow up as good as Laura. He's like, besides, any parent would like to see their child shine brighter than them. So as he says that, Hakeem feels a kind of way because he doesn't feel that from Lucius. And everybody's asking him, Hakeem, you okay? He's like, it's just, I've never experienced that type of support from my dad. Laura's dad is like, well, maybe your dad does support you. He just has a hard time saying how he actually feels. And he's like, nah, my family is dysfunctional. They can't support. They at each other's throats. So now it goes back to Cookie and Lucius discussing the past. Lucius reveals that he witnessed his mom commit suicide, and he was with this, she was like, well, who raised you? And he was like, well, it was this neighbor lady who was next door. She took me in for a while until she said Child Protective Services was coming to get me. So I ran away. He was like, I lived in abandoned buildings. I slept on the streets. I ate out of garbage cans for 6 months. And he said the first person he said, I bumped into this guy, and he gave me my first bag to sell, and it was Frank Gathers. He was 16 at the time. And Cookie was like, Frank Gathers started you hustling? He was like, listen, it changed my life. So they were like discussing his murder without discussing it. And Lucius is like, listen, if he would have done something, he would have killed you two times over. So what happened to him had to happen. And Cookie is like, well, I don't really care for it. I'm not thinking about it. But she's telling Lucius, tell your truth. Tell your truth how you want to tell it. This is your story, and people can benefit from learning about what you went through. So Lucius is coaching the boy in the scene, and he's getting nervous in the tub. So Cookie kicks everybody out, and she starts coaching him. And she's like, listen, this is all for pretend. Afterwards, you could dry off and go on about your day. You're about to be a hero to many people who are going through the same thing. So I was like, that's good advice, Cookie. So, Tiana and Mirage Twilight is still on tour. Tiana is performing Look But Don't Touch again. And Hakeem is backstage watching. So Hakeem basically got Laura and Tiana to collab on a song with him, which I thought was a smart idea, just to, diffuse the tension and all of that. So, Cookie is going over the video. It's her birthday. And she's like, listen, will you have the rough draft, like the rough cut for me by 5 today? I would like to see how it looks so far. So the guy's like, yeah, maybe, we could work on it, see what we can come up with. So Jamal comes in, wishes her happy birthday, and basically is like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to take you shopping. I'm going to take you to your favorite rib place. I'm going to do this. And Cookie is like, you're only doing this because you don't want to be with me at my birthday dinner. And Jamal is like, he just really hurt me. He cares more about an award than he does his kids, and it bothers me. So Cookie is trying to understand. She's like, listen, I'll just have a quiet dinner with him. And he's like, you're still sprung out on Lucius. She's like, what me and your father have goes deep. You can't just throw away how you feel. And Jamal just is afraid. He doesn't want her to get sucked back into Lucius' evil web, which is, understandable. So, Cookie is disappointed because her birthday is basically falling apart at the seams. So now we get to Cookie's birthday dinner, and she just hella disappointed. She's like, well, whatever. You got away with trying to get your kids together or whatever. So Lucius is like, well, I do have a surprise for you. Next thing you know, the piano starts playing. So, the Stevie Wonder version of Happy Birthday. So Cookie is like, so you want me to believe that Stevie Wonder himself is on the piano? He's like, no, look. He points. There's Jamal, Hakeem, Andre, Rhonda, all of them singing happy birthday to her. So after they finish, and Jamal is sitting at the piano, Hakeem is like, so after that, after the surprise or whatever, she shows everybody the rough cut for Boom 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 Boom. And as they're watching it, you know, they show the scenes with Lucia's mother trying to like cleanse him in the tub, and Andre is watching it and he's looking and he's like, and then when he sees where she has the gun and she puts it to her head, he's like, it takes him back to when he tried to do the same thing. So he gets pissed off and he figured it out. He cuts the TV off and he's like, was my grandmother bipolar? And Lucius is like, I don't know. I ain't no doctor. So he was like, all of the signs are there. Why didn't you say anything? Lucius is like, listen, back then there wasn't a name for it, but yes, I guess you can call her bipolar. So Andre is upset at how Lucius went about treating him with his bipolar disorder. And Lucius is like, listen, if I would have told you about your grandmother, he was like, I felt that sending you to all those schools and sending you to this place and that place and being tough on you, I felt like that would have shaped you. And he's like, listen, if you would have told me about my grandmother having bipolar disorder, that would have helped me more than you sending me away. And he was like, well, my mother was a nut job. I was embarrassed by her, just like I'm embarrassed by you. So I'm like, God, Lucius, you just setting this man back 100,000. Like, that's not how you go about it. You're supposed to support him and assure him that everything's going to be okay. But Lucius doesn't know how to do that because he didn't know how to deal with it with his mom. So how's he going to know how to deal with it with his son? But you would think he would learn. So Andre felt offended and he was like, to hell with you, Lucius, and walked away. So then we get to Hakeem. He's waiting outside of the venue of the tour for Laura. And he's like, you know, my family is dysfunctional. They don't know how to get along. I would love to create a beautiful family with you because I love how your parents treat you. So, will you marry me? He proposed to her. She said yes. And Tiana, you know, basically, you know, shook her head for approval. She looked a little disappointed, but she looked happy for them at the same time. So, Rhonda calls Boo Boo Kitty, of all people, and basically is saying she's tired. She's been doing all of this for Andre for 10 years. She feels like she needs to stop putting her focus on Andre and focus on herself. And she just doesn't want to go back to the house. So Anika is like, well, you can stay for me as long as you need to. You know, I'll be here for you. She's like, well, it would be good to be around somebody sane for a while. I'm like, if only you knew how insane Boo Boo Kitty was, you would not be nowhere near her. So then we get to Jamal in the studio with Hakeem and Cookie, and he's listening to this. Well, he's trying to record his parts for The Sun Is Gonna Shine. So Hakeem is doing the producing, and Cookie is like, oh, you know, he's working on the producing, and he, you know, he's doing that on his own as well as getting engaged on his own. She smacked him beside the head again. So Frida comes in and she lays her verse. And then she said Frank Gather's name in the verse. So Cookie was like, Frida, did you say something about Frank Gather? And she's like, yeah, you know, that's my dad, or that was my dad. And Cookie is like, oh shoot. So, you know, Frida is like, he was murdered in prison. They don't know who killed him. So Jamal was like, wow, I thought he just died in prison. I didn't know he was murdered. She said, yeah. They're acting like they don't care about who murdered him. You know, I care and I'll never stop caring. I'd like to know who murdered my dad. So then she was like, did you know my dad, Miss Cookie? And she's like, yeah. You know, Cookie started stumbling and stuttering. She's like, yeah, but, you know, just get back to your verse or whatever. So Cookie leaves the room and she has like a near panic attack because now 2 and 2, she put 2 and 2 together. Lucius brought Frida on. after he murdered Frank Gathers. So now she has to try and figure out how to like keep from Frida from finding out that Lucius really had Frank Gathers murdered. Plot twist on every episode. So that was the end of this episode. That was season 2, episode 13. I enjoyed this episode. It was good. So far, this second half of season 2 of Empire is really good. It's getting really good. Like, it's intense and the storylines is getting crazy. But I cannot wait for next week's episode. So you guys let me know how you feel. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.